It Happened on the Job, the podcast for relatable conversations with contractors. Sponsored by Goodman Insurance.
Welcome to episode 89 of the It Happened on the Job podcast. My name's Mike. That's Brian.
Yo. And today we have Mr. Bill Klein, partner at CFOs2Go. How you doing, Bill?
Pretty good, guys. Thanks for having me on board today.
No, yeah. Thanks for joining us all the way from Stonehenge. It's the internet connection's a little bit better than we anticipated, so it's going well. We appreciate you taking the time.
I represent a lot of remodel contractors, so this is a project that I pitched to them. Say, who would like to bid on
this? Well, Bill, thanks for coming on, man. Hey, wanted to kind of start out. I know this is a little bit different in terms of our normal guest, which is awesome. I love a little spice in the show. But if you could just kind of introduce yourself.
Not just in the show.
What did you say?
Not just in the show.
Not just in the show. What is it that you do? And how you got started in the construction industry.
Okay. Well, to start off with, I'm a contract CFO. I specialize in small privately owned companies in the construction trades. I also do some real estate development. A lot of my contractor clients are pop-up developers buying a small parcel of land and subdividing it and building it out with custom homes or spec homes. Depending on the economy. There's not a lot of that going on right now, as you can imagine.
Right.
What I do as a CFO is just globally, I'm a partner in a consulting firm called CFOs2Go, and we're an accounting and financial management consulting firm. So we basically work with our clients to ferret out problems in their accounting and financial management arenas in their companies. And both of those areas tend to be kind of like black boxes to the owners who don't understand how accounting works. They think it's mumbo jumbo, and they think it's just, a bunch of numbers that don't mean anything. And that's because if they think that way, it's because they're not getting the correct information. So what we try to do is take all of the operation from a CFO standpoint. It's not just accounting and finance. That's what controllers do and accounting managers do. They record information and spit it back. What CFO does is takes that information and melds it into the rest of the operation of the company to see how it affects the operation of the company, how it's affecting marketing, and how it's affecting estimating, and how it's affecting field operations, and with the objective of smoothing all of that out and making it operate smoothly. Mm-hmm. Just as a kind of a background to give you an idea of how we think of what we do. It starts out with the age-old mantra of construction companies operating in an environment driven by on time and on budget and happy customer metrics. So, and as everybody that's in a construction company knows, there's relentless pressure to deliver on those metrics. Financial management breakdowns occur because of underinvesting in accounting and finance functions. The focus is outward on the customer and on revenue production, and not so much inward on the processes and controls that cause the company to be able to produce what it does for its customers. And these breakdowns show up as lack or inefficient internal controls that permit error or cause errors. Sometimes they invite errors by unscrupulous employees. There's miscues between project management and accounting to subcontractors or suppliers, or later inaccurate pay applications, reports to lenders. Government agencies or upper management don't get the reports they're asking for. There's untimely or inaccurate financial statements issued to banks, bonding companies, and insurance companies, and other users of outside users of data. And if left unchecked or not even recognized, these breakdowns can threaten the existence of the business because they provide fodder for theft of critical business assets, not just money, but customer lists and plans and drawings and what have you. They invite mechanics liens and stop notices, labor and insurance audits and tax liens, all these things that are disasters when they happen, they can be avoided. And in addition, evolving technology and government regulations and increasing costs and financing opportunities and project complexity require you to stay nimble and capable in an increasingly competitive environment. I apologize for reading that. I haven't committed it to memory yet. As a result of all of that, every company needs an experienced financial leadership expert to help manage that landscape. And most companies will say, yeah, I know I need that, but I can't afford it, or I don't know how to get it, or I don't even really know what it is, and I don't know what the edges are around it. In other words, what are the limits of responsibility within the company of that particular role. So that's what we do. We define the role. As a new client, for example, we'll do an assessment of the entire company, of how the company is operating, how it moves the project through from the various departments, and what the accounting department's role should be and is, which are different usually, in each of those steps of the project moving through the company. And then we'll make a recommendation to management, and then hopefully management will pull a trigger and say, go fix it. And we'll provide some opinions on what needs to be done and an order in which it needs to be done, and then we start working on it. But some of the basic things we do, just to kind of give you a perspective, to take accounts payable, for example. You wouldn't think too many errors occur in accounts payable. All that happens is you get an invoice either by email or in the mail, and you pay it. Well, believe it or not, invoices get lost. They don't get paid. Then you've got a mad vendor. And if it's a subcontractor, they're really mad, and they threaten to stop work, or they threaten to clean your job. You go, wait a second, I don't have the invoice. And they said, yes, you do. We sent it to you 2 months ago. And then they send you a copy of their email. It turns out that whoever was in charge of reading the emails that day accidentally deleted that one. Or the opposite happens. The invoice gets paid twice because there's a lack of controls on how invoices are handled once they're queued up for payment. So those are easily fixed. There's another problem that happens a lot. I see this almost in every small contractor's office, is a lack of controls over check stock. You know, the actual checks that you run through the printer that you pay bills with.
Right.
Well, those are supposed to be locked up. And everybody goes, oh yeah, sure, we'll lock it up. They don't understand why it needs to be locked up. And here's a perfect example. Anybody in the company that knows where the check stock is kept can go there, reach down into, say, 25 or 30 checks, and pick the check stock up and pull a check out. And so it's just out of order. Pull the check out and fill it out and sign it. And if the bank doesn't pay attention, it'll get paid. So you can see how somebody can steal money from the company. It's so easy that it's crazy. So if you keep the check stock locked up, and the other thing is it won't get noticed during the normal check run because the person thought to reach down into 50 checks down into the stock. So the normal check run is 10 or 15 checks a week. It'll be a long time before they get to.
It gets noticed, yeah.
Before it gets noted, and then when it gets noted, and most of the time, not most of the time, but a lot of times, the person running the checks won't even notice the check has a pre-printed number on it, and the software that's producing the check automatically prints a check number, and those two should match. And a lot of AP managers don't check to make sure that those match. If they don't match, it means that the checks are out of sequence, which means that somebody got into the check stock and took something. So those kinds of controls are easy to put into place, and they make a huge difference in safety and also in losses. I mean, somebody could be stealing. We get called a lot to figure out why we thought we were making money on this job and we're not. Why? Well, because it takes a few hours of research. The reason you're not making money is because somebody's in your company is stealing from you on that job. So anyway, so that's kind of the framework that we work within. How I got started.
Yeah, I have to imagine that your service would kind of pay for itself in most situations. Is that probably assumed correct? Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to say another thing in terms of paying for itself. If you need a credit line, which every contractor should have a credit line, to your outflows of cash as a result of paying subcontractors and material suppliers and normal overhead costs, that outflow in terms of the quantity of cash never matches the inflow from pay applications and invoices to customers. So that offset needs to be, especially if the outflow is greater periodically than the inflow is, you got a bunch of invoices to customers or pay applications stacked up that are queued up for payment next month, but they're not paid yet, but you got to pay subcontractors and material suppliers now. So where do you get the cash to do that with? We need a credit line. In order to get a credit line, you have to provide financial statements and tax returns to the bank so that they can determine that you're a Class A customer, and they'll lend you, they'll give you the power to borrow on a credit line basis. So then that says, how do I produce financial statements? You can't just do it on the back of a napkin. It has to be done in a certain format. So we do that too. And a lot of companies don't pay attention to the way that they record their transactions in their accounting system. And so their financial statements are a little off kilter, not because they aren't making money, it's because they're not sure how to record certain kinds of transactions. So we can take a look at the balance sheet and income statement and say, look, these are recorded wrong. Instead of here, it should be over here. So we can change that around, and it makes a world of difference on how the financial statements look and what the income looks like and what working capital is. And banks look at things that you wouldn't ordinarily look at, like working capital, for example. That's the difference between accounts payable and accounts receivable, the difference in the number value of those two things. Your accounts receivable should always be greater than your accounts payable. If it's not, then you need to make it that way. You need to pay down your accounts payable or ramp up your collections so that your receivables are greater than your payables. So anyway, so where was I going to go now? Oh, on me.
Yeah. Why contractors? How'd you get stuck in this space? I mean, other than the fact that, we talk to them on a daily basis, so we know that this is one of the areas where they struggle, and not to kind of speak badly about it, but with all the other things that go on in construction and the contracting space, I think it's fair to say that this is one of those things that just kind of gets kind of pushed to the side, especially for some of those smaller startup contractors, just because there's a lot going on, right? So many, like you said, so many accounts payable with so many different vendors, and then trying to collect all that stuff too. It's kind of just wade through that and get through it as best as you can to pay the next guy. But so I guess why construction? Why contractors? What brought you into this vertical?
It's kind of in my blood. My father and my grandfather were both serial home builders, and back when the mechanics of building and getting approvals to build were much simpler. I grew up with a hammer and a saw in my hand, so I knew how to build stuff, in elementary school. And my school projects always had something to do with construction. So building things and electronics were my two hobbies or loves, I guess, growing up. And so I tried both. And first I tried electronics, and I studied engineering at Virginia Tech, and then I went into the Navy and went into submarine service, working on navigation computers. And I did that for about 10 years, and then got out and went to work for a real estate developer. And I went from that developer to another. The first developer, all he did was condominium conversions, and I wanted to build stuff. So I left there and went to another developer who did build houses. He bought land, like I was talking about earlier. He'd buy land and subdivide it and build on it and sell the houses on it. That's really cool. That's what I want to do. So I started doing that and started working for bigger and bigger companies. And I decided I had an affinity for the financial management aspect of doing all of that. I actually liked that better than going out in the field and working with the
swinging the hammer. And
went back to college, finished my degree. Yeah. And then I went to graduate school and got an MBA. And I just, the numbers sort of spoke to me. I was able to figure things out. I could see things that other people couldn't see. So I thought, well, this is cool. I like this. So I found something that I liked and enjoyed, and just kept with it. And eventually got a job as an assistant controller for a structural steel company in Stockton. Worked for them for a couple of years, got promoted to controller, then left and went to another company that needed, so I found myself teaching construction software, which I didn't find really exciting. I already knowing how to use it. I didn't really like teaching people how to use it. Then I got a call from a real estate developer, a perfect company that I wanted to work for, somebody that would buy the land, subdivide it, build the houses, sell the houses, and then start all over again. It had the right combination of private financing issues and permitting issues and banking relations, and I hired me as the controller, and I invented. Not invent isn't quite the right word, but I developed the role of chief financial officer for them because they needed that. They needed somebody to interact with the investors and with the banks and with the bonding company and to some degree with the vendors. And that's the role of the chief financial officer. So I said, I can do all of that. So I did that. And then along came 2008 and the year of the tanking of,
Yep. I remember.
of all things real estate. So we found ourselves without much of an opportunity to sell. This fellow built large semi-custom and custom home. Well, not custom. They turned into spec in the end. Homes, big ones like 3,000, 4,000 square feet for several $1 million on half-acre lots. That was back when you could buy, you being not me, but people who were making a killing in Silicon Valley could walk into a bank and say, I want to buy this house. The house costs $3 million. I can put $1 million down on it, and I'm good for the rest of it. And the bank would say, okay.
Stated income, I think. Yeah.
And for the most part, that worked well. Then Silicon Valley started. Right. Yeah. And in retrospect, you think, why would a bank do that? But that was the way business was being done back then. And then so we learned from that, and so things are a little bit tighter. And in that process, I grew from CFO to consulting, and I enjoyed that even better because I could pick my own clients, and I knew a lot of people. I knew a lot of investors, and they knew a lot of contractors and developers. So it was kind of a nice marriage, and I love consulting.
Where in the process are these contractors giving you a call? I mean, are you actively reaching out to them? I'm assuming probably not, based off how you kind of introduced and how you guys see things and some of those hot trigger buttons that they're discovering. Are they calling you with issues? Is that where?
Yeah, how are you picking up most of them?
That's the better question.
Yeah. Well, we spend a lot of time doing business development. We go to trade shows and parties that banks throw, and then insurance companies invite us to events, and they invite their clients. So we get to meet them that way. But then we also belong to organizations that have regular meetings, and so we get to do that. And usually what happens is we get to meet people. We get to meet people that are in the trades, and either they know, like I'll go to a trade show, and maybe I won't meet a single contractor there, but I'll meet 4 or 5 insurance agents, and a couple of bankers, and they go, "Hey, I have a client, or I have several clients that need your expertise." And take in terms of a bank. Banks love to lend money. That's how they make money. So they want to be able to lend money to contractors. So, but because they're regulated, they have certain criteria that they have to meet, and they require their customers to present certain kinds of documentation about their creditworthiness. Well, a lot of companies they can't do that because they don't know how. They don't know how to do it, or if they know how to do it, they don't know how to make themselves shine in front of the bank. And so, I don't want to sound conceited, but a lot of times all the bank needs to know is that we're on board with their customer, and that'll increase their credibility to the bank, because they know that we're going to get their financial statements in shape for them. So they'll go ahead and lend, and they'll maybe do a 6-month line of credit. Say, okay, you have 6 months to whip your company into shape and show us, good balance sheet and income statement and tax returns. And then if that works, then we'll increase your line, and we'll think about doing a longer term line of credit. And that, that helps the customer, obviously.
Yeah.
It helps us because it's a feather in our cap. We can say, banks love us.
Yeah. That's huge.
So, yeah.
On average, how big are the contractors that you guys are working for, generally speaking, from a revenue standpoint?
100 million, give or take a few hundred. Small.
So that's kind of your wheelhouse, is a few 100,000 in revenue to $1 million, maybe $1.5 million, a couple million.
Yeah, I know 100 million.
Oh, 100 million. Okay.
Bigger contractors.
I was going to say that's. I mean, we obviously we work with contractors day in and day out, and I mean, if you're doing upwards of 25, 30 million, I mean, you're pretty big and successful.
Right.
And you're finding. I guess what I'm trying to ask is, you're finding companies that are of that caliber that don't have proper financial management and CFO structure and those kind of controls.
Normally, the larger the company is, the more sophisticated their problems become, and it's by the time they get that big, they no longer have balance sheet and income statement problems. They've got that wired with their internal, with their CPA, with their
right.
CPA.
Right.
What we find with them is their processes are lacking. They've become inefficient because they've reached the ceiling of growth, and they've got they got personnel problems in their accounting department.
Right.
With people they have employees that have become territorial with the work that they've done, and they don't share how they do it, and they become a single point of failure in the accounting department because they won't share their work. So we have to manage those people into a different role, or to get them to see the light on how important it is to the company that they share their work.
So at that point, you're more coming in to kind of manage the situation, not necessarily manage the entire financial structure. You're more managing the situation, I guess.
High level.
Yeah, high, kind of. Are you guys interested at all, or do you do any work with the the much smaller contractors that are doing $1 million or $2 million a year, and you go in and do a full like, hey, we're going to take this over kind of thing?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll take this over. But I have probably 5, 6, 7 clients right now that are in the $2 to $4 million revenue range.
That's where I would see you guys. I mean, obviously there's value across the table, but from our aspect, that's where we see it a lot, is those guys that are doing $1 million to $5 million that just can't find a way to kind of break through to be even more profitable, right? Those systems, those controls, and all those things. I would imagine that's probably where you can
show them how to do that. I mean, some of the things is real. Some of it is really easy. It's literally just showing them how to run a report from their accounting system. It tells them what their job profitability is on a per job basis. It's one thing to know what your bottom line company wide is, that I had net income of
but how did you get there? Yeah.
Which jobs drove that profit for you? Which jobs were losers and why? And let's not do any more of those jobs. Those kind of jobs. Or did you bid wrong? Or is your bidding process wrong? You have problems there because you're underbidding, and then you get into the job, and then you find that you got to generate a lot of change orders because we forgot this, we forgot that, and then the owner says, "No, I'm not paying for that. That was supposed to be in the original contract." So those are the kind of problems we see with the smaller contractors, and those things are easily avoidable if we identify them before they become a problem on the.
It's just about having proper systems and controls, like you said. Yeah. Very cool, man.
Well, and I gotta imagine, probably due to the complexities in the structure and the size of the clients, obviously your role is different, or may change. Given that, I mean, you probably don't have. I guess maybe give me an idea of what the lifespan of a client is, because I gotta imagine if you do such a great job,
kind of work yourself out of a position.
Or do you? I don't even know. I mean, especially with taxes and all these things that are always recurring every year, and potential theft and all these different things. What's that lifespan of a client?
Well, for me personally, and for my partners individually, personally, we generally work ourselves out of a job. But that's not to say that our company doesn't work ourselves out of a job. And let me explain. We start off as a fractional CFO, part-time CFO. And our first look at our client company is at the CFO level, C-suite level, with top management, either the owner or the president or the CEO or the COO, or all of those folks. And we say, okay, here's one of the things that you need to change the staff in your accounting department. Your accounting department might be one person. It might be the receptionist who learned how to pay bills, and some project manager who learned how to create pay applications to customers. And those two people consist of. So the answer to the question is what's wrong with this company is we can say that, well, you need to upgrade your accounting department. Sole purpose in the company is to manage all of the accounting entries, the accounts payable, accounts receivable, payroll, general ledger stuff, closing the month, reconciling the bank card accounts.
Well, thanks, Bill, for coming on. We really appreciate it. But before we get going, I wanted to have you at least let the people know where to find you guys, whether it's
how
online.
to get a hold of you guys.
Yeah.
You can reach me at, my email address is B as in Bill, BKLEIN at CFOs2Go.com. So it's B Klein at CFOs2Go.com. And my phone number is it's direct dial. It's 925-890-7521.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill.
Very cool.
Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say that for the consultation, we don't go on the clock until we've actually met with the customer for an hour or maybe sometimes a couple hours to see what their issues are and see whether it's really something that we can help with. And after we make that determination, then we go. There's a lot of possibilities of fixing some problems during that free introductory meeting. Sometimes it's something just really simple.
Yeah. Well, so we just kind of give you a little heads up. Obviously we've got 400 plus contractor clients here. That's all we work with. So would love to get some information from you if you want to get it to Brian that we might be able to share with our clients. And then we also have a Facebook group that we're trying to get going, bringing some contractors into, and then also bringing outside professions that work with contractors as far as attorneys and bankers and CPAs. And I think, a firm like yours would be a great resource as well. I think what we're trying to do is bring a bunch of contractors and then have outside resources to kind of build a resource bank for contractors. So we're kind of in the building process of that, but if you're on Facebook, maybe get that information over to Brian as well. And we can get you into that group as well and try and help you out, get you a few clients.
Yeah,
sure. Great. I will do that. What kind of materials would you like? Just some stuff off of our website or like things that I've written?
Yeah, just whatever. Anything from a marketing standpoint, some collateral, just so we can we might be able to get it to our clients. Shoot them all a quick email, let them know that we talked to you and you seem like a decent guy enough.
Great. Appreciate that.
No worries. Thanks, Bill. We appreciate your time, man. Have a good one. Right, stay safe out there in Stonehenge and have a safe trip back.
I'm going to hop on a plane.
Yeah, right.
All right, Brian. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. Have a good one.
You too. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. And if you've made it this far, go ahead and give us a like or 5 stars or whatever means you like us.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. And check out our website for more video content and extras.
While you're there, shoot us a message if you want to be a guest. We'd love to have you on.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.